While the series has its fair share of light-hearted moments, there are also some really dark chapters that show the harsh reality of life. This is one of them. It's chapter 5 from the book and 89 from the manga, and it starts with Maomao's sleep being disturbed as a filthy, middle-aged man is banging on her door. She peeks out as he begs her to come out and examine his daughter. Just by looking at him, she can tell he isn't the type of man who has any money. So she closes the door and asks why he's there, thinking to herself that her father probably helped him out of pity in the past, which is why he's back again. However, she isn't interested in charity. It's because her father was too kind, he never had a cent. She asks if he has the money to pay. He clearly doesn't, so he points out that she is an apothecary too, and asks if she plans to just abandon his daughter. She replies that being an apothecary is her business, and in business, money does the talking. Then he tries to guilt-trip her, asking if she really plans to charge a poor man when her father Lumen would have given him the medicine for free. She tells him her adoptive father isn't there and is working out of town, saying, if you can't pay, then stay away. It's because the likes of you come rooting around that I have to live in this shack. Maomao gives the door a good rap to scare the man away. Xiaoyu is right beside her holding a soup pot and a ladle. If anything happens, he is ready to smack them together to make as much noise as possible. Soon the man realizes guilt trips won't work and drops to his knees in desperation. He begs for help, swearing he will eventually find a way to pay for the treatment. It's honestly so sad to see how they are always prepared for the worst, and the way she's trying to appear a little cold, because if the people who live there get to know that they're handing out donations, they wouldn't hesitate to take advantage of their kindness. Still, she sighs and asks Xiaoyu to bring writing supplies, ink, a brush, and a wooden tablet. While the man waits anxiously, Maomao quickly scribbles something down and turns to him with a cold professional gaze while presenting a formal contract. She asks him to sign, but since he can't read or write, she gives him a knife and instructs him to seal it with a bloody thumbprint. However, just as he presses his thumb to the wood, she gets a faint, mischievous smirk that makes her look more like a scheming debt collector than a healer. Xiaoyu even comments that she looks like a villain, but she nudges him with her leg to shut him up. After that, the man leads her to an alleyway near the pleasure district, and when the other men with haggard bodies and dirty clothes watch them, he gives them a threatening look. Also, Maomao wasn't stupid enough to go alone. She had asked Yukiko to come along because as the head of the men servants, he knew how to handle rough company. He asks why they came to a place like this, and she apologizes, saying she hates it just as much, but she had no other choice. To that, Yukiko fondly pats her head, saying she is like her father in a way, but she quickly pushes his hand away. As they arrive at a cramped, dark living space, they see a young girl about Xiaoyu's age, lying weakly on a thin mat. Her older sister watches them with empty eyes. Maomao also notices her hands and the smell of filth, asking them how long has she been like this. The father gets defensive, eventually telling her that it's been a few days. But even before that, her hands seem to be bothering her. For examination, Maomao wraps a cloth around her own face and hands, and even then, the father angrily demands to know what she's doing. So Maomao glares at him, explaining that if the girl's illness is contagious, it wouldn't help anyone if she gets sick too. She adds that if it bothers him that much, she's happy to walk away. Faced with her blunt logic, the man lowers his hand, causing Yukiko to relax as he stands behind him with crossed arms. He was likely prepared to dislocate the man's arm if he turned violent. I find their relationship really sweet because, in the novel, she calls him overprotective in her head, and he is pretty much always there to help her out. Moving on, Maomao begins the examination and notices that the girl's fingertips are cold and discolored. While it looks like a clear case of hypothermia, she knows that at this temperature, such a thing should be impossible. Then she wonders maybe she has paralysis because her pupils are dilated and she is making strange occasional sounds. Meanwhile, her older sister, who looks like she's about to cry, mentions that she was fine a few hours ago and asks their father if her sister will end up like their mother. He becomes hysterical, begging Maomao to save her because it would be a huge problem if his family got any smaller. This piques her curiosity and she asks if the mother died of the same symptoms, but the man clarifies she died from a miscarriage. Maomao then looks at the thick spittle around the girl's mouth and asks if she's eaten anything. They said they've given her some porridge, but when she sees the bowl, it contains almost no actual rice. There are some herbs and grasses which are neither poisonous nor nutritious. delicious. The sister explains that she added them to make the porridge appear a little more. Maomao notices something and asks if anything else was added to the food. The sister hesitates at first, but after a bit of pressure, she finally pulls something out of a cupboard. In the novel, it's described as an expensive cake with a distinctly sweet smell. Seeing this, the father is surprised and asks what it is, as he has never seen it before. She explains that someone gave it to them, and they decided to eat it slowly when there was no food. She also adds that their mother told them to keep it a secret from him. The man gets furious, screaming about being the head of the family, but the older sister snaps back and calls him out for never working, for gambling away their money, and for making them beg, while he takes what they earn. Judging by how the man reacts, Maomao realizes it's clearly true. She had been thinking he only wanted the best for his daughters, but maybe he had just been afraid to lose a source of income. Ignoring the drama, Maomao tastes a piece of the bread. It's as sweet as sugar, far too high quality to be a simple act of charity. So she asks where they actually got it from, and it turns out the younger girl brought it home about a month ago, right before their mother died. She then asks if anyone else in the area has shown similar symptoms, and the sister recalls an elderly man living nearby who also became ill around the same time. Maomao instantly signals Yukio to go check on that man. Satisfied she has found the cause, Maomao removes her mask and wraps the girl in a blanket, announcing that she is taking the little girl with her. She tells the father his daughter will never recover in this filth and then ignores his protests. But before she leaves, she warns the older sister to get rid of that sweet immediately because it was the cause of everything. Hearing that, the sister drops it instantly. As they leave and Yukio carries the girl, he whispers to Maomao that the elderly man's fingers were indeed rotting away. And after a small bribe, the man even admitted that a mysterious woman gave him the candy, though he never saw her face. Maomao realizes this unknown woman and the trail of sickness she's leaving behind are starting to look very suspicious. Now as they reach home, she tries to give Yukio a few coins, but he says he's used to protecting kids and refuses. When inside the shack, Choyu gives a pointed sniff at the smell of the dirty child. Maomao instructs him to heat some water, handing him some coins to buy white rice from the granny at the verdigrease's house, and he dutifully sets off. Once the girl is in better condition, Choyu asks about her discolored fingertips. Maomao explains it wasn't just the sweets, but more specifically the ingredients inside them. They weren't made with normal sugar, but were contaminated with ergot, a substance found in poor quality wheat. Even a small amount causes poisoning, affecting blood flow and causing tissue death, paralysis, or hallucinations. When he asks if the girl will recover, Maomao assures him she'll be fine, as long as she stays away from that poison. She explains that she only brought the child here because she knew the father wouldn't take proper care of her. She thinks to herself that she only drew up that contract just in case, doubting the man would ever pay her honestly. Once again, Maomao finds herself in a troublesome situation. A few days later, there's a knock at the door. It's the older sister. Maomao asks her about the money, but the girl is only worried about her little sister. So Maomao points her toward the yard, where Choyu is walking with the little girl, already acting like an older brother. As she rushes to meet her sister, Maomao stops her. She points out that the girl is well enough to walk now, so it's time to talk about the debt, even though Maomao already knew they couldn't pay the moment the father failed to show up. So as a solution, she jerks her thumb toward the little girl and suggests they sell her to the verdigrease's house so they can start training her. The older sister went silent for a beat, then her eyes slowly met Maomao's, who was certain she would break down crying, but instead those dim, near-dead eyes had spark in them. She tells Maomao that she will sell herself instead. She's older and would fetch a much higher price. Maomao asks if she truly understands what that means, but she is well aware. It's either this or beg on the street while her father steals every cent she earns. She knows that in her world, she'll likely end up as a prostitute anyway. She's done with everything, and if this is her fate, she might as well start now. Maomao gives her an appraising look and sighs, asking if she really thinks she's worth that much, telling her that a farm girl would fetch a better price. The girl argues back, saying her sister is just as bad and can't even talk. Maomao retorts that the younger sister would be easier to discipline, saying that she would be surprised by how many men prefer prefer the quiet ones. Maomao is being intentionally cruel, but the girl's gaze doesn't waver. She says that if they don't get out of the mud now, they'll be stuck forever, and she won't let that happen. It's a common story. When you are trapped in the mud, the harder you struggle to get free, the deeper you get sucked in. But among those who do nothing and just wait around for someone to rescue them, Maomao prefers the one who fights to stand on their own 2 feet. She has no special reason to help, but no reason to stop her either. But she does warns her that the granny is the stingiest woman in the city and will haggle her down to the bone. She adds that if she ever tries to run away, she'll get her ribs snapped. The girl simply replies that it's nothing compared to her father breaking her arm. And when asked about the younger sister, she says she'll handle the money and work as much as it takes. In the end, Maomao reminds her that in the pleasure district, if they are useless, they are nothing more than sewer rats. Still looking displeased, Maomao gives her some clothes and tells her to wash her hair at the well first, because if she has a flea in her hair, she would be driven out with a broom before she could even get in. Now, as the girl goes to the well, Maomao thinks that from now on, she wouldn't know what the future will hold for them. They chose to walk on this path, and whether they thrive in the city or sink into the mud, it all depends on the two of them. Okay, so I got these lines from the manga, but it's a little darker in the novel. It goes like, what would happen to her after this was none of Maomao's concern. She'd chosen this path for herself. If she was going to regret it, she could have stayed in the mud until she sank out of sight. I'm kind of liking how the manga is adapting the story. It's a slight difference, but sometimes still noticeable. Later, as the story slowly unfolds, we will see who this mysterious woman was. But for now, that's it for this video. Thank you for listening to me. Take care of yourself and goodbye.
I don't really wanna hurt you, but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side, maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change.